Cleveland Clinic, Florida provides individualized treatment plans for excellent outcomes of health problems ranging from the most common to the most complex, even in cases considered untreatable by others. Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Every life deserves world-class care.
Here we go. It is Tuesday's KVJ After the Show podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin rocks this shit.
What?
I think he said Kevin rocks this shit.
Oh, I thought he said watch this. I was like, what's he going to do?
No, rocks it. Just want to let everyone know at home, I was the only one cheering for Kevin.
It's true you were. And it's duly noted.
Thank you.
I am keeping score on that, by the way.
I cheer on the inside for everything you do.
Yes. Right. Well, let's see. Get to some of the controversies of today's show and the comments that came from them. Parmesan or Parmigiano?
That was the most controversial thing we talked about today.
Yes, or Parmesan.
Denny's was telling me, and he also threw this comment, like, I put him up on the screen. Kevin didn't take these calls, but people were backing me up on how to say it. He said some people really
No, one person did. I took one call. I don't know how many I need to take. I mean,
Parmesan? People are saying?
Yeah, one person said Parmesan. Yeah.
What the shit?
I did take that one, but yeah, I was like, that's enough. Yeah. So, yeah, apparently it's all over the map on what you say. Somebody did send me a video of, what's her name?
Giada.
Yeah.
Oh, Giada.
Oh, yeah.
She's Italian,
Yeah.
hot, cooks, and she was doing chicken Parmesan. She was saying it that way.
And she's Italian, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm Italian. What the shit? You guys not believe that either?
Well, you are Italian, but you mispronounce everything. With all your pronunciation issues, you override your Italianness.
Yeah, your credibility kills the Italian.
Fair point.
You need to forget about it.
Tanya said the cheese is from the Italian city of Parma. In Italian, something from Parma is named Parmigiano. In Italian, a person from Italy is Italiano, and a person from America is an Americano. Parmesan or Parmesan is the English way of saying that something is from Parma, just like American is the English way of saying that it's from America. So as for the pronunciation, an Italian word from Italy pronounced Parmigiano with a J like in jelly becomes silent, like in the word ciao. That's just a rule in Italian. Kind of like an I after the G becomes silent.
Oh, yeah, we all know that.
Like one caller said, there are variations. So some people pronounce the G like in bonjour. Not sure if any native Italians pronounce it that way, though. I was in Rome for 6 weeks for work and never heard anyone say it that way. I'm not even sure what she's saying, to be honest with you.
I'm not either.
Is she saying it's Parmesan or Parmesan?
As Virginia would say, forget about it.
Forget about it. I think that's what we should just do.
You know what? Instead of fighting about Parmesan, let's just eat some.
Amen.
Yeah.
While you were doing all this jibber jabber about it, I was looking online. They have the recipe on there to make those Parmesan crisps. You take the cheese and you bake it, and it turns into these little cracker cookie things. Oh.
I got a list for you, Mama, if you're into it, of things that I think you should make.
Okay.
If you are into this.
I am. I would love to make your holiday gift.
We are going to eat like kings, my man. Would you tell me what you want, and then I'll make sure that we get
Virginia makes it?
Absolutely. Virginia's a good cook.
Kevin's easy. He wants lettuce and water.
Pretty simple.
I can make that.
There you go.
Remember when we gave him a lettuce birthday cake?
I did.
Yeah. It's the best gift ever. Loved it. Let me see here. This is from Liza. Said, Jason, please tell me you watched The Goldbergs. It's on Hulu. I think they're about 5 seasons now. It's about a family growing up in the 80s. You would love it.
I have not watched that.
It's super cute.
You like it?
Magnolia got me into it a little bit, so I started watching it, and it's cute.
Is it one of those ones where you're watching it, and like every 5th episode, you watch it, and you're like, oh, it's kind of deep a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how The Office was sometimes. It was goofy, and then they'd throw an episode, you're like, damn, it's making me think about some shit.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I got this. Says the Virginia questions were weak on Plead the Fifth. Regarding the first question, this is from Xavier. We all know of the who is the most annoying sister question that you had, Jay Bird.
I look, to be quite honest with y'all, I had no idea we had that segment coming up. I had nothing prepared, and I was literally writing that as I was talking. I admit I failed in that bit, and I apologize.
Well, Xavier says, we all know Virginia is the most annoying sister.
Oh, that's good. would.
This is why she doesn't find any of her sisters annoying. Because she is the one.
That's probably so true.
That's such a good comment.
Yeah, my sisters are very peaceful and easy to get along with and sweet.
And good looking and fun.
Yeah, they're everything I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a crazy side. Why are you crazy and they're not? Because you're older?
I mean, I think it's just what you get.
Just what you get.
When you have a kid, you don't know if that kid is going to be batshit crazy or normal or quiet or loud, or it's just, you get what you get.
You just wound up crazy, huh?
I think about because we have 4 kids, 4 siblings, and we all are the same, but we definitely are way different in certain areas. You're right. You get your personality.
Yeah, I mean, me and my sister Maggie are a lot alike in some ways, but then, she's real nice. I'm not.
I'm not.
You can be nice.
I know. I just mean, she's not confrontational. She would never, keep something going.
Someone asked me if
she'd rather look the other way.
Yeah.
Someone asked me if you're really confrontational off of the air. And I was thinking, if someone came up to you at Publix and you weren't drinking and you were just sober and you're just shopping, I think you kind of don't want anything to do with it. I think you're kind of like, you kind of turn into hey, leave me alone. Now, if you get some drinks in you, that's different. I think you need alcohol to be a little feisty.
Here's the weird thing about my personality that I'm very self-observant as I've gotten older. I am unpredictable. That is the best way for me to tell you. I don't know what I'm going to do until I'm in it. I mean, if it has to do with the kids and you say anything to me in Publix, it might get ugly.
That's different. I'm talking about someone coming in at you. Virginia, you fucking you suck, blah, blah, blah.
I'm going to be like, all right, yeah, I suck. Have a nice day.
When people tell me I suck, I'm like, dude, I agree most of the day. I'm trying to get better.
You're right.
It's just, I'm very controlled by moods. I could be in a great mood, bad mood, happy mood, sad mood. That really does dictate how I handle situations.
Kevin and Denny's are the most predictable with their behavior.
Yes.
Because you're very consistent with it.
Okay.
Consistent.
You know what you're going to get.
Rational.
I'm up and down
Boring.
too.
Peaceful.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, you're right. I am a fuckface. And so, what did you call me, motherfucker? It really depends on. I think I'm controlled by the moon.
Yeah, I think the moon has a lot to do with moods too. I know that some people think we're silly and we're just freaks for thinking that, but I mean, we're made of water. The moon controls water, y'all.
Mm-hmm. All right, let me see here. Next email says, hey, Jason, go fuck yourself.
You got it. You got it.
He's doing it right now, sir.
Yeah, that's awesome. From Angie in Hollywood. She said, I just want to start out by saying, I love you all, but I think all the shit-talking Virginia was doing about Rob Schneider at the top of the show definitely got back to him before the interview.
No.
And that's why he canceled.
No.
You're in the minority on that thought process. I got a lot of people telling me they think that had something to do with it. Something.
I mean, I was just saying I wasn't going to go soft.
Oh, no.
I was going to look for an apology.
No one's saying anything like that. What everyone's kind of saying is you going off on a 25-minute rant 2 days in a row, it's possible that could have gotten back. In today's day and age, the way things are thrown out and how easy it is with audio and tweets, it's possible his management got the heads up on that. That's all people are saying.
What the fuck do I know?
Fungu. For keeping it Italian.
Let me see. He said, who the fuck is this rat disguising themselves as a fan rolling over on you guys? That boiled my Italian blood like you would not believe. Anyway, the real reason for the email, I need to know where I can buy the Hey Jason, Go Fuck Yourself t-shirt. I love Jason, but you got to admit, this shirt is fucking hilarious. I'd only wear it with Jason's blessing, of course.
Of course.
I give you my blessing.
That's the only way you wear it. And you wear it with love. You don't wear it with true hate or animosity.
Can anyone remember where that originated from? I'm trying to remember. It was on the podcast,
It was something about you walking down the street.
And somebody's like, hey, go fuck,
Chamber, go fuck yourself.
I think you said well, I'll just go fuck myself. And then I think that's kind of how it started. Like, we need to make that into a T-shirt.
So after you did that, Sass or Salt, our official KVJ merchandise partner, actually made me one because I begged for one. So they made a special order of that shirt
Right.
and sent it to me. I mean, they're so cool. I bet you they would make anybody who wanted a special order of that shirt. I mean, it's not going to be cheap, but it is going to be nice.
It's a great shirt.
And it's wonderful, to wear out around the family.
For the holidays.
For the holidays.
It'd be good to do, I'll just say do it for a KVJ event, but I don't know, if it's in public. And you got.
If you wore that shirt to Blue Martini, people would fall out and love it. I might just do that.
You won't do
I
it.
might just bring that shirt and raffle it off for little smiles.
You won't wear it, that's for sure. You ain't got the balls, lady.
Well, one of the biggest discussions today is something we got a couple emails about. The Keaton Jones, the kid who was bullied that we talked about yesterday on the show.
Yeah, this is highly controversial now.
Yeah, and then people trying to, figure out what is going on with the family. Somebody went on to his mom's Facebook page. Her name was Kimberly, and they found some photos with some Confederate flags, and there was some text in there as well that was pointed at the NFL players taking the knee, and some people with the comments. Some of the stuff that was said in that, it said, butthurt Americans, which may have been a response to the violence in Charlottesville, was part of what was written. And there was a little bit more to the text that people did not care for. And then it just kind of like really was spinning just crazy out of control yesterday. And the last thing I saw was the kid was calling other kids in his school the N-word, and they were just retaliating for him using a word that you clearly can't use.
They were on Good Morning America this morning.
Yeah, what was said?
So it says, Keaton Jones' mother is defending her social media post with the Confederate flag and insisting she and her family are not racist. She told GMA the photos were intended to be extreme and ironic and funny, end quote.
Okay, so was it addressed, or they have any kind of proof about the kid using the N-word in school? Did that come out? That was one of the things that were tagged to him, but I don't know if it was just Twitter writing the narrative yesterday, or if there was any story on that, because people were saying that to me. I'm like going, I'm like, where was do we have a source? Do we have a video? Like, where did that come from? And the furthest I could trail it back to was just one person writing it on a tweet.
I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, it's everyone's keeping it calm in the comment section.
Yeah, right.
It's the TMZ comment section.
Yeah.
Oh, man, there's some fighting.
And I think on top of it, there was some money that went into GoFundMe, and people are like going, first of all, like, why was the kid getting a GoFundMe? It didn't make sense. And then they're claiming that they weren't ever asking for money and did not set up the GoFundMe.
So
Who did?
This is what they're saying about the GoFundMe. They're saying that has now been put on hold. It was up to $58,000, and the person that started the page stresses he had nothing to do with Kimberly. He has no idea who he was just doing it out of the kindness of his heart.
Okay, so people were trying to find that out and saying, okay, was it possible that Keaton Jones, we took sympathy for him for being so horribly bullied, but was he a bully himself? And I don't know that question has been answered yet one way or the other.
They're not saying anything in the article about whether he was being a jerk.
Yeah, and let me see. Part of it was, I think what stemmed out of it was just the then photos with the kids. And I'm looking at the one photo right now that somebody has posted. It looks like a total of 5 kids that are on a front porch. And Keaton is holding an American flag, and the kid next to him is holding a Confederate flag. They're both on flag poles. And that, I think, was the one thing that really kind of started it off, too, as well as her post about the football players and what she said about that. And I don't have that exact quote on that. But regarding the Confederate flag and my comments earlier on the show, Amanda sent us this message. She said, Kevin, calling it the war of northern aggression and saying that the Confederate flag has only recently come to represent racism is the most white privilege thing I have heard in a sentence. It must be nice to be able to forget about slavery.
Is that all it said?
That's all it said.
That's it?
That's all it said from Amanda.
Well, you're not forgetting about slavery. You just said that that's not what that flag meant to you.
Yeah, I responded in to clarify, because that's not what I had said. I didn't say that it's only recently come to represent racism. I said more recently in my life it had, so I clarified in the comment. I said, growing up, the Confederate battle flag didn't mean hate and racism to me. It meant Southern pride and not at the expense of anyone else. My family's not racist, and I didn't hear that kind of talk growing up. As I got older and saw people use the Confederate battle flag with hate and racism, it became clear that it was no longer something I could cherish. My perspective changed, but that is part of learning and growing. I'm sure the hate associated with the flag was apparent to others at a much earlier age. Hopefully we all strive to understand people of different races and cultures more and to be sympathetic to their feelings. So, yeah, I mean, what I had said was that, yes, growing up, it wasn't to me. It was something that was on top of the General Lee on the Dukes of Hazzard, which was an innocent show that, at least when I was growing up, didn't exhibit any racism.
Nope, Kevin, you're the white devil.
Well, I mean, they throw out the white privilege pretty quickly on anything that you ever say, and I'm all about getting everyone's perspective on these stories. But
why is it white privilege? Like, I don't understand why that's a white privilege statement.
I think they say anything that if it has a white
you
perspective,
don't understand.
If it's white perspective, then it's white privilege. But here's what it is. I don't know about privilege because I saw my family. In their area, they were white and they grew up around other white people, but they were poor. They weren't very rich people. They were farmers and they were preachers, two things. Then they didn't have a lot of money. They didn't have slaves. They didn't have all that kind of stuff. So I didn't see a ton of privilege. I mean, they were great, tight family people, and
but
they loved everyone.
I don't think that's what that means, though.
I don't know why and I don't understand
when
people.
with the privilege is if you took the same scenario with the black family, they would automatically not have just the white family, no matter what, would be better off than the black family just because of social standards. I think that's
how does that apply to what my comments were? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
That's what I'm asking. Yes, that's what
and
I'm
I don't
asking.
understand that. That's where sometimes when white privilege is thrown at me or thrown at you, you're like, well, I would say it's white perspective, but I don't know necessarily where the white privilege is in my story of that. And here's the thing, and I think that's why it's so important for us, and I have grown as an individual because I did not had the ability to grow up and see the other side of the Confederate flag. It wasn't until later on in my life. And I think even especially recently, as you see the media and the stories of how the Confederate flag is used, and you hear people talk about...
And you hear really evil people flying it
right.
to support their evil mission, and then you're like, whoa.
And I see movies like the one movie that they had with Martin Luther King in Alabama. Was it Selma? Is that the movie?
Yes.
And those kind of stories, you see that, you're like, whoa, that's I didn't see that. And I think a lot of people think that any white person in the South is racist is attributed to this. And I didn't see it growing up. And I think that people should try to understand, for what I saw growing up in the War of Northern Aggression, like I said, that's what my family always called it. The southern part of my family. When I go to the reunion and when I was young, I would hear stories from my grandmother and they would talk. And for them, her perspective was they had a small farmhouse and they were in Georgia. And Sherman came through with the Union Army, and they came in and they ransacked their house. They stole her silver. They stole her Barbie dolls, or her little dolls that she had. They weren't Barbies at the time. They burned the house down. The railroad tracks that they had for their transportation to get their supplies in and out, they took and twisted all the railroad ties all the way down so they couldn't get food or couldn't get anything out, and basically left them for dead. And to them, they were just minding their own business. They weren't so absorbed in the politics that were happening at the day of slavery and not slavery. They were just farmers doing their thing and trying to live. And an army invaded them and took everything they had and burned it to the ground.
That's pretty aggressive.
And so for them, that's their perspective on it. That's the War of Northern Aggression. They did not, own slaves, did not have... from any of the stories I've heard, ever any animosity to anybody of any color whatsoever. That wasn't a story that I ever heard associated with it. I never saw that kind of hate or that kind of attitude from anybody in my family. And so that's my perspective. And so, but when you try to share your perspective, then you get hit in the face with white privilege.
And that's not fair.
And
is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm just saying I don't understand it. That's all I'm saying. I don't understand it. Maybe that's just it. And I think, understand what white privilege is, and that there are certain things that you have privilege to in society because of the color of your skin. But that's why in this case, maybe I don't fully understand the context, but to me, that was what I was sharing earlier was white perspective. not white privilege. And there are probably a lot of benefits that I've had in society because of the color of my skin, and I haven't had the same perspectives and the same challenges as people who don't have the same color of skin. That, to me, is my understanding of white privilege, and I understand that. And my eyes are becoming more and more open to that, and I have a better understanding of that, and it's awful, and it's horrible, and I don't like that. I think everyone should always be treated equally and should have the same opportunities regardless of their race or religion or creed or ethnicity or their social or sexual preference. So
I enjoyed your answer to that email.
Yeah.
I think you explained yourself greatly, don't you?
But
Yes.
I feel like I can't ever say that because just even by that explanation,
White privilege,
racist, white Southerner, whatever it is. And it's like, look, I wish you could go back and meet my whole family and see what they were all about. They were the most loving, sweet people that you would ever meet and would associate with anybody. And I saw people of different races always around them.
I haven't heard
they
you
never
say.
were on them.
I haven't heard you say one thing that would make anyone think that you're a racist.
But the things that you get hit with, like a comment from Amanda, is like that is the most white privileged thing that I have ever heard.
That just, with just life in general, people are going to say things, and some people are going to interpret it one way, and some people are going to, you could say your statements, and 10 other people could hear it differently.
Yeah. Well, somebody said, poor people in that time were also racist. They didn't want black people where they lived, hence segregation. White privilege may come in because you guys weren't exposed to racism, therefore you're privileged. And that could possibly be it, because I did not see it. Like I said, yeah, poor people could have been racist, and absolutely, I'm sure, were in many instances. But I don't think it's also fair to say that any person who was white and was in the South wouldn't associate with anybody of any other race or look down on them or would treat them differently. Because I believe of the religious stance that my family had, they always believed that everyone was created equal. And they would always love on somebody no matter who you were. That's all I ever saw.
You can't say anybody is anything of anything.
So,
That's silly to ever do.
The thing for me, I find it offensive too at the same time that people, in a sense, want to label my family as racist without knowing them. And to me, everyone else is offended by everything else that happens, but I'm like, do you know my family? Have you ever talked to them? Do you know anybody in the family? Do you know what they were like growing up or anything about them? Because
this is that whole research thing that nobody cares to do. Nobody cares to look before they accuse or look into things or research. It's just so much easier to go, oh, white privilege. Your family had to be racist, Kevin.
And I will, and I say there's a lot of stuff that I need to learn and want to continue to learn to see, even a better perspective of everything that's come up. But at the same time, I don't want to be, in a sense, badgered or made to feel bad because of my perspective and what it was like for me to grow up.
Kev, you're a dick.
Well, that's just it. I want to share with you what I saw from my eyes. This is what it was like growing up. And I did not see ill intent and all that kind of stuff. And for me, I don't think it's fair when people want to label you and your whole family as racist because of the region and where you grew up.
Of course it's not
in the
fair.
circumstance that happened.
You should never have anyone be in an absolute box of anything.
Yeah.
That's just not the way. You're going to always find that there's not 100% of anything. And it's a shitty thing to do with any situation, to blanket you're this, you're that because of that. It's not cool.
So for me, I want to see more, and I hope that we come to a place in our society where whenever you see someone getting an advantage or being treated unfairly because of their skin color, that it be called out and we stop it. We find ways to stop it. And I think that there's still a long way to go in our society, but
You're awfully quiet, Sinicki.
I'm drinking him in.
It's nice. I'm not complaining.
I grew up in a totally different perspective, so I have the opposite experience than you did. I grew up in a predominantly African-American community. I mean, I grew up in New Orleans. I went to public school. I was the minority, very much so. I think my high school was 72% black, and then there was the rest white, Asian, and Hispanic.
Okay.
We were very much the minority. So it's just your experience defines how you look at the world and what you see and what you know.
You are 110% on that. Your perspective is shaped on your experience.
And all you have to do to be a good person is to come at it with love.
Right.
It doesn't matter who you're talking to. Come at it with love.
But I don't think that, and the thing that I don't like about the dialogue that happens is that even if people come at it with love and share their perspective, that they're made to feel bad. They're made to feel guilty for things they don't.
But here's my whole thing. That I wouldn't let that email make you feel. That's someone's opinion.
Yeah, don't let Amanda bother you, because that sounds like a white privilege name to me, Amanda.
I mean,
I looked at her profile photo. She's very white. So
see, white people that are throwing this around sometimes get a little bit too much.
Amanda needs to. I don't know. It doesn't even matter. My point is,
don't let her shake
You're gonna always say things. It can be about pizza, or it can be about what we're talking about. You're always gonna get someone that not gonna listen or hear your point. They're never gonna hear your point, and that's just the way it goes.
Give your point with love, and then step aside, knowing you did the best you could. And if somebody like Amanda wants to find hate in your love message, that's on her.
I mean, she can disagree with you without saying white privilege and all that stuff, because
but she's trying to make you look like you're a bad guy, and
I think she's trying to make
Absolutely.
you. I think and they use that to make you feel bad.
Don't feel bad, because that girl's wrong.
Well, and that's just where I like to say, hey, look, can we start discussing? Can I give you my perspective on what I saw with this? Because there are some people, and I'm just looking at the comments that are coming through, right now, talking about the Confederate flag that, you're seeing here. And this is going to be a big discussion that's going to continue. And it's not even just having to do, with this bullying case that has been going on here. I mean, the Confederate flag right now is one of the most polarizing things, because there are a lot of white people in the South. They're like, they want to hold on to it. And they want to say, look, we feel like this has always stood for Southern pride and not racism. And where I'm from, and now keep in mind, I was raised in the North too. And so my perspective is tainted by the Yankees.
Jeter.
Yeah.
Not the baseball team.
Sorry, got rid of
And, the thing that I would say to that is it's become such a divisive symbol now that for me, I know, like, I wouldn't associate myself with it. I wouldn't be seen with it. I wouldn't want any part of it. And, there's part of me that's like, that's sad, because I felt like it was supposed to mean something else. And
they've changed
it. And it's too bad. We got a text earlier too, because I'd mentioned, the swastika. The same thing.
Who's pissed off?
Was a symbol. Nobody's pissed off on this. In fact, it was someone who was Jewish who said, I understand that swastikas were used long before Nazi Germany got a hold of them. They meant positivity. And Nazi Germany changed that. And they're on many gravestones and things like that, that you'll see it's been used for centuries, long before the Germans ever got a hold of it. The Nazis did. And she said, look, I'm Jewish, and I still would have no problem wearing a swastika, because I'm enlightened. I understand the true meaning of what it is, and I wouldn't let them take that away from me.
And
they've taken enough.
That's another example of someone's perspective that's going to be different than someone else. And it's really all about what's going on in your head.
Yeah. So, that's a big part of it. But, I would tell the other white Southerners who say, hey, I'm not racist and it's supposed to mean Southern pride, is that you got to fight back against the racists that are out there. They're using it more.
Well,
don't
what if you
stand by?
What if you are
don't let them use it?
What if you're someone that, and in your heart you believe you are not racist whatsoever, but you have pride with the Confederate flag? Are you saying to them, sorry, you got to get rid of that flag because that's just the way of the world these days? What if they're like, well, but it does not mean racism. That's not what it means.
I know, and I think that's what it is. I would say, in my own personal choice, and I think it's a personal decision, my own personal choice, it's too divisive and it clouds anything that you might possibly want to say. And so for me, though, like I said, I am, my family is Southern, but I was raised in Ohio, and that changes a lot of the perspective on it. It's so divisive that it's like right now, I wouldn't even bring it into the discussion, because what happened, there was some text that woman Kimberly had on her Facebook post that was led to it. But I think the first thing was people seeing the image of the Confederate flag on that post. And then it really does. The first thing you see, the associations, even for me now, when I see it, I don't see Southern pride anymore. As soon as I see the Confederate flag, I think racism. You know,
Yeah.
it's changed
it's
it
sad,
for me.
But it has changed it.
Yeah.
A few bad people that wave it and spew hate
Yeah.
have now changed what it means.
So imagine if I grew up and I was black in America, and that's all I ever saw it as. I mean, there's no way. How would you ever even try to dent that and change the perspective of saying it's not supposed to mean racism? You know, for them, it does. And, you know, for a lot of it, too. I mean, the war was fought, big part of it because, you know, of slavery and racism. And so I just don't see in our generation or the next couple of generations, I don't see it ever not being anymore a contentious symbol.
I'm just checking some of the comments right now. Nope, sorry, Kev, still a dick. Not changing my mind. All right, next comment.
Signed, Jaybird.
Virginia, shut the fuck up. Okay.
So hopefully the one thing that we do, though, we start identifying these things that we have, like Confederate flags and things like that. You just realize that we're not going to be able to settle that. Let's put that aside and let's look. Really, the issue of this story should remain to be bullying, you know, and should be like, hey, if this Keaton kid was a bully himself, that's not right. The fact that he was bullied is not right. And so, you know, let's try to, because there's so much confusion. And boy, Twitter got so confusing yesterday.
You're wishing for something that's never going to happen.
You got spun, but that's where I would say if I were a part of this discussion, let's hit the reset button and let's say, look, let's deal with that later. That's a deeper issue. We got into this because of bullying. Let's, you know, handle one thing at a time.
It'd just be nice to not give so much, I don't know, power to Twitter. It'd be really nice. That's really. Can we focus on that too? Just not having. Because something on social media, not everyone loses their shit.
And if our attitudes changed, if we would all try to be more understanding and open-minded and lead with love, then we would be able to knock out bullying, racism, everything else that we keep talking about in our society, all in one fell swoop. You'd be able to just cut them all in half. Just cut them down to size. If we just did that.
The Dalai Lama said.
Yes.
I'll fuck it up.
The Dalai Lama said, "I'll fuck it."
No, he actually did say if the whole world taught every kid by the age of 5, now this would have to be every single kid that was born. You would have to make that kid meditate about compassion towards others for at least 5 minutes a day. Within a generation, you'd pretty much knock out hatred for the most part.
Yeah, there's
Pretty awesome.
That's the D-Lom talking. Those aren't my stats.
Well, there's some stuff that they've, because now they're starting to really study bullying a little bit more and to say, okay, what are maybe some common threads of bullies? And maybe we can see this and identify this more and maybe try to correct kids who are bullies so that they're not, by teaching them things like what the Dalai Lama would try to teach them. And they're noticing, tendencies that also happen from families. And they say bullies tend to lack empathy. And you're right. A lot of times just trying to see it from everyone as a human being and teaching kids empathy, that everyone has feelings.
It'd have to be a conscious effort for the kid to really understand and grasp compassion towards others.
Yeah.
And he said for it to work, every single kid would have to do it, and that's just never going to happen.
Well, and maybe it's, and I think the schools probably try to teach some empathy, but maybe we need to try to increase that and really ratchet that up to get, because if they're not getting it at home, hopefully maybe they'll get it at school, and the kids will wind up in that kind of atmosphere. They say kids who live in chaotic homes may be more prone to becoming a bully.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. It makes sense. You get somebody yelling at you, and you have all that anger and that aggression, and it builds up, and then you're a kid. You don't know how to deal with that.
Samuel Jackson.
You explode. You go and you explode on somebody.
Samuel Jackson gives such a great interview. Some guy's trying to get him about violence in movies, and he's like, "Look, if you want to teach people to be kind to one another, it starts at the home. It starts with the mom and the dad teaching kids to be kind to your fellow man or woman, because it starts right there. That's the true responsibility of raising good human beings.
That's really it.
Quit looking for outside sources of why people are all fucked up. Make sure you're taking care of it." It's such a good interview.
Mm-hmm. Well, they said, with bullying, it's about power and control. And often the case, kids who are bullying others in school are feeling powerless and out of control themselves.
At home. Yeah,
They feel
absolutely.
unacknowledged, that some things are just not fair to them, and they just don't know how to deal with their emotions. So they're just lashing out.
Absolutely.
The nearest thing to them, and that's, other kids.
And they probably watch their parents do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, grown-ups do it too. When you hate your job, you hate your life, you feel like you can't ever get ahead or get ahead up, and you're filled with stress.
And all of a sudden, you
take it out on your kid.
You take the mashed potatoes, you throw it against the wall. You say, "Get the fuck out!"
You take it out on your wife. You take it out on your kid. Your kid's sitting there watching all of it.
Or your husband.
Or your husband.
Women can do it too.
It's a vicious cycle of just despair.
Got an email here from Weirded Out in West Palm. Just wondering if I could get your opinion as to whether I'm being crazy or if you think this is suspicious.
What did Jay Bird do?
Last year at my boyfriend's work/holiday party, there was this pretty lady at the office who sat by us, specifically next to my boyfriend.
Uh-oh.
She was married and her husband was there, but they weren't really speaking to each other. I noticed the whole night that she was being extra chatty with my man, to the point that he had to turn his back to me. And also, when she did talk to me, she was paying way too much attention to my man's features. When he shaved, photos posted on Facebook, etc., it made me real uncomfortable. I said something about it to him later, and he felt a little offended but was understanding. Swore nothing was going on, and he said that he'd never noticed her behavior until I said something about it. Fast forward 1 year later, it's the company Christmas party, and the lady won't say one word to me. She waited until I went to the bathroom to head over to chat with, quote, our table. I've never been rude to her, and he swears he never said anything to her. Is this weird? I feel like I'm being paranoid, but I've been burned before.
It's not weird. And no, that's something's going on strange. And I don't know if I like it. If you feel like this chick is acting weird and he's acting weird, I would be investigating.
Yeah, okay. It's possible that she is hitting on your man. I mean, did you see anything in the last year that make you believe that he's, back and commiserating with this woman?
Usually these things fizzle out and they don't
Right.
continue for years and years. So if your man did do anything, it's kind of weird that a year later it's still kind of awkward and bizarre, because usually they either do something bad and it fizzles out, or they do something bad and you guys break up.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know that, I think a lot of times women, I think, are very perceptive of this. And let me just tell you, too, like, I know with the Mexican Queen, I watch my body language because I have had those situations. I pay attention to where she is, and I try my best to not turn my back on her. She gets upset because she's like, you just closed me out of the conversation. It's really rude. She will tell me right away.
Well, it's true, because if your husband's turning to talk to this coworker for all of the Christmas party and he's turning his back to you, that's kind of like saying, okay, this chick's more important.
Oh, and I just cut you out of the conversation.
Yeah.
So I that was one thing I used to do horribly, and I'd always turn and talk to somebody. She's like, you just totally cut me out and like just left me hanging. She's like, that's really rude. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, it supports Kevin's a dick.
Yeah.
That's the whole
White privilege.
That's what this whole podcast really has been about. Is
If we've learned anything today,
Kevin's a dick. Yeah.
New show, Everybody Hates Kevin.
he's the white devil.
I love you.
That's all I need, man.
You're the most peaceful guy that gets the most hate.
Yeah.
It's kind of laughable at
Look,
this point.
when you say things on the radio, motherfuckers are going to say things back.
I hear you. All right, well, there you go. If you got anything else to say, mail at kvjshow.com. You can send us emails. Make sure you check out Bud's Chicken and Seafood.
Yes.
Jaybird loves to talk about sauces. That's his icebreaker when he goes to a Christmas party. If you go try the bird sauce, you have something to talk about.
And it does warm my heart. I love when people keep putting up pictures on social media that have tried Bud's for the first time. I was actually at Camille's getting a pizza, and the guy working at Camille's the entire time was saying, oh, man, I love Bud's. Bud's is great. So we're talking about Bud's in Camille's.
Talk about your two worlds coming together.
Yeah, no, it's nice.
You got to do the tenders and you got to do the bird sauce.
Try the bird sauce.
And you got to do the corn fritters, too.
Try the corn fritters.
That's right.
8 locations?
Seven.
7.
Maybe they open up
But
another one I don't
they
know
could
about.
be growing. You don't know.
We're going to grow.
All right. Check it out, Bud's Chicken and Seafood. You guys have a great day. Goodbye.
Cleveland Clinic, Florida provides individualized treatment plans for excellent outcomes of health problems ranging from the most common to the most complex, even in cases considered untreatable by others. Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Every life deserves world-class care.